our Prime Minister is always willing to talk. The question is he willing to listen? Don't report me under UAPA. The call to arms is metaphorical. It's not literal arms. And I ask you to stop using terms like anti-national because you are actually doing violence. How many times has Mr. Shah been elected to be president? Who elected Mr. Nadda to be president? Are the elections in your party?
नमस्कार मित्रों आ गए अरे टुडे we have somebody with us and boss Mr. Tharoor was thinking he is giving interview to that देशभक्त आकाश अरे उसको हटा दिया आपने Mr. Tharoor you are trapped today Mr. Tharoor you are trapped and please you are not going anywhere you're not going anywhere you're not going to get up and go देखिए Mr. Tharoor thank you for talking first and foremost thank you you have courage facing BB but Mr. Tharoor what is this whole business of me doing this conversation in English you should talk in Rashtrabhasha you should talk in India's mother tongue why can't we do this in Hindi you're so many years in Indian politics now why
ഞാൻ വേണമെങ്കിൽ എന്റെ മാതൃഭാഷയിൽ സംസാരിച്ചാൽ നിനക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവൂടാ എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് നീ പറയുന്നത് അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ വേണമെങ്കിൽ എന്റെ മാതൃഭാഷയിൽ സംസാരിക്കാം
अरे ऑडियो प्रॉब्लम मिस्टर थरूर ऑडियो प्रॉब्लम
देखिए अगर आप चाहते हैं तो मैं मेरी अपनी मातृभाषा में बोल सकता हूं या किसी और मातृभाषा में लेकिन बात यह है कि अगर मैं एक बंगाली से बात कर रहा हूं कि आपनी बांग्ला बोलते चाहें तो आपनी बांग्ला बोलें किंतु इफ यू वांट अ लैंग्वेज दैट मलयालीज एंड बंगालीज विल बोथ अंडरस्टैंड तो अंग्रेजी से बोलें
Mr. Tharoor, this is hitting below the belt. I'm politely telling you. I'm suggesting you should brush up. You're so good in English. You should brush up on your Hindi also. Anyways, moving ahead. So I am saying, Mr. Tharoor, you so many people from your party coming this way. A lot of people saying to Bhakt Banerjee, please speak to Mr. Tharoor also. Lot of opportunity, Mr. Tharoor, this way. Before we start, आप हमको बता दो, setting. I will talk.
No.
अरे
what? I'm very set where I am.
अरे Mr. Tharoor, lot of very appreciation of good talent. We need good speakers. Mr. Patra is there, but you can go to good channel also, English channels. You can go from our side. No.
I'm on my side already. Thank you. On the right side, the good side.
Okay. We will talk about this later. Now tell me, Mr. Tharoor. Now first and foremost, tell me what is this whole business of you getting into the farmer agitation? Let's get into hard question. And I'm not going to ask you lallu pallu question. I'm going to ask you a hard question. What is this you going into this protest venue? Ganga flowing, you washing hand in that farmer protest. You are trying to gherao us.
Actually, when the Ganga flows, you do want to wash your hands. I think every one of your BJP leaders has been absolving their sins by dipping themselves in the Ganga. I'm only touching it with my fingertips. But let me say to you very seriously, we are looking at a genuine crisis for people without whom we cannot eat. This nation is fed and nurtured and brought up by the labor of its farmers. That's why for half a century we have been shouting Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. And the point is that when the Kisans are absolutely agitated, when they are surrounding the nation's capital and saying, we are deeply hurt and offended, how can you start sitting around ignoring them and assaulting them, shooting them with water cannons in the cold winter air? I don't understand this logic. You know, now the Prime Minister says that he has no intention of hurting the farmers. But we have started off first with passing laws against their interests without consulting them, ignoring the objections voiced by the opposition in parliament, then abusing them as Khalistanis, then as Pakistanis, then as Naxalites, shooting water cannons at them, ignoring them, and finally when you realize they're serious, they're hurt, they're really upset, they need your support, they need you to understand and bend and see what they want, finally you are seeing the Prime Minister saying he's willing to talk. Why could this not have been done 5 months ago?
Mr. Tharoor, so much English in one line. Take a breath. I am saying is that Pradhan Mantri ji has said he's willing to talk. He said now he's willing to talk. 2-3 state farmers coming and doing this to the national capital.
Our Prime Minister is always willing to talk. The question is he willing to listen? Our Prime Minister has not been listening to the farmers, and they want to tell him how he has ignored their needs and demands. That is the issue before us, Bhakt Sahab.
Acha. Mr. Tharoor, okay. I am not going to go too much into it because you will make this into your own platform, and put your own points about the farmer. What should be done? No, you tell me. To take a bill back, has this government ever gone back on its word? Commitment is commitment. Why should we take the bill back? Tell the farmers to come and to talk to us.
I cannot speak for the farmers. The farmers will make their own demands in their own way. You're right. At the moment, the farmers are demanding that the bills be withdrawn. That is their negotiating position. The government is saying the bills must remain. That is their negotiating position. But many years of negotiation behind me at the United Nations, all I can say is when two people start off with incompatible negotiating positions, they meet, they talk, they explore common ground, and they find out who is going to give a little bit so the other one can be prepared to drop their initial stand. It could be amendments, it could be changes, it could be exceptions for some states. Who knows? But the point is, until you talk to each other, how are you going to get off your immediate negotiating position?
Mr. Tharoor, acha, theek hai. Yeah, but this is not UN, I hope you have understood. So many years in Indian politics, This is Modi land, This is not UN, first and foremost.
So then Modi land is going to get one side refusing to talk, refusing to consult stakeholders, and refusing to listen, and the other side besieging the nation's capital, sitting on the streets, surrounding the nation's parliaments, the city that hosts the parliament, which is being replaced by a new parliament, and meanwhile it's not meeting. All of this is happening. Who gains from this? Who gains from this, except, frankly, those who want our country to fail?
I see. No, Mr. Tharoor. I see sarcasm in your face, New parliament, You have a problem with that also, Your Nehru parliament, old parliament, chottu sa, is being replaced by a grand parliament, We are a party of grand vision, grand temple, grand statue, grand parliament. What is the problem? You are jealous, you make chottu building, we make big building,
First of all, the old parliament was not a Nehru parliament. It was already 20 years old when Nehru first walked into it as a Prime Minister of India. Secondly, our argument is not that the parliament didn't need renovation, did not need improvement. Definitely it did. But we question that at a time when the nation is in crisis, when people are losing and have lost their jobs, when the country's unemployment is the worst ever recorded, when the economy is in complete collapse, when so many things are going wrong in our country, people are suffering, and we are the world's second largest caseload of COVID victims. In the middle of all this, for the government to announce 20,000 crores for a facelift for the city, this is a very poor choice of timing and priority.
Mr. Tharoor, I am letting you speak. You are speaking so much. I am not interrupting you. But
this is why you should be Prime Minister, Bhakt Banerjee. At least you listen.
What are you saying? What are you saying? I am saying. You don't get into all this maths, New parliament building will be there, employment opportunity, public spending is going to happen. But I am just saying is what, let it be. You please छोड़ो उसको छोड़ो. मैं ये कह रहा हूँ, you are writing books now, You say Modi ji is not doing work, and what are you doing? Every other day I am reading you are making out a new book, You are very free these days. Now what is this new book that you have written? I had to memorize. The Battle of Belonging on Nationalism, Patriotism, and What If It Means to be Indian.
If to nahi hai usme, The Battle of Belonging is the title, and the subtitle is On Nationalism, Patriotism, and What It Means to be Indian.
Is this a book or is this a novel in itself, the title?
It's very much a non-fiction book, which makes an argument that Bhakts should definitely read and appreciate.
No, what do you mean? What do you mean? I have done full research. I have questions. What do you mean?
Ask. I'll be very happy to answer.
I'm asking. Shashi Tharoor's new book is Call to Arms for All Indian Patriots. Hindu Business Line. You agree with this review?
In a metaphorical sense, I think the reviewer is right.
So you are agreeing that you're doing call to arms now, Mr. Tharoor, you are doing call to arms. You are instigating people with your book. Do you know this is anti-national?
Listen, first of all, don't report me under UAPA. The call to arms is metaphorical. It's not literal arms in the terms of banduk. It is a call to arms in the sense of rousing our consciences. And secondly, as far as rising to challenge the government, the truth is that dissent is a logical thing in a democracy. It's basic to a democracy. If you start calling everybody who disagrees with you anti-national, that means you are conflating your party with the government with the state, and the state with the nation. And you're saying that criticizing the BJP is like being anti-national. That is wrong. That is undemocratic. And I ask you to stop using terms like anti-national, because you are actually doing violence to the democracy enshrined in our constitution.
Mr. Tharoor, I have caught you. I have caught you. You don't watch serial. Very popular quote these days. Tuada kutta kutta, mada kutta Tommy. Huh? No. What are you saying? The government? Nation is Mr. Modi. He's our supreme leader. You also had Indira Gandhi. You have forgotten India is Indira, Indira is India. Huh? At that point of time, it was absolutely okay.
I'm on record since those days, including in print, including in my articles and books, as being against that. I disagree that nationalism can be a totalizing vision that excludes those who don't subscribe to it. The kind of nationalism that brooks no dissent and demands allegiance to one man, one party, one government, that is not nationalism. That is something very wrong. I believe that the Constitution of India gives us the right nationalism, which is civic nationalism. And that is not nationalism about one-man rule. That is not nationalism about a religious ideology like Hindutva or whatever. It is a nationalism anchored not in identity like your religion, your ethnicity, your language, your region, your race, whatever you're born into, but a nationalism anchored in constitutions and institutions where all citizens are treated equally, irrespective of their religion, their caste, their creed, their region, their language, and their differences are accepted and respected. That is the nationalism I argue for in the book. As for patriotism, Bhakt Sahab, patriotism is simply about loving your country because it's yours, because you belong to it and it belongs to you. The way you would love your mother without claiming she's perfect, you love your mother. Similarly, you love your country as a patriot. That's all patriotism is. It has nothing to do with Mr. Modi or the length of his beard or the size of his chest.
You're getting personal. You're getting personal now. You're getting into beard. No, Mr. Tharoor.
You started it, Mr. Bhakt.
We are having very dignified. No talking. No, all this business. No. Editor, you cut this part. Cut this part. Okay. No. I am saying is, what is your problem? What is your problem with this whole nationalism word? Why does it bother you so much? Why is it about diversity? Let's include everybody. We are nationalists. No problem. What have you written in this book? Even after Modi era ends, the genie will still be out of the bottle. Hyper-nationalism will still continue. I've also read your book. I've also understood the parts. First and foremost, what is this? Even if Modi era ends, why are you wishing Modi era ends? Why are you wishing?
We in the opposition are going to end the Modi era at the next opportunity, legally through the votes of the public of India.
No. Keep dreaming. I am saying is, hyper-nationalism will still be around. Why should it not be around? I'm Bhakt Banerjee. I'm hyper-nationalist. Why should I not be around?
Because hyper-nationalism has been appropriated by you Bhakts in a way that makes it almost a dirty word. Our nationalism had initially led to the long, successful struggle for independence, but this was a nationalism deeply rooted in India's time-honored civilizational traditions of inclusivity, social justice, religious tolerance, the desire to forge a society that allowed individuals to flourish, regardless of their background, their religion, their caste, their language. None of those things were supposed to matter. They were not supposed to be barriers. Today, the hyper-nationalism of your friends, Mr. Bhakt Banerjee, is that when the ruling party speaks of nationalism, they mean an exclusionary, aggressive, sectarian ideology, which is really about ethno-religious nationalism, about being a Hindu, excluding people who don't contribute to your vision of what Indian nationhood is all about. Whereas I believe that love, inclusion, acceptance of difference, all of these are really at the heart of what it means to be an Indian, to be a patriot, and to be a nationalist.
Mr. Tharoor,
in the sense of civic nationalism.
please use smaller words. Please, I'm having a conversation with you. I am saying is, what is wrong if I am proud about a Hindu? What is wrong if the nation goes with what we say? Why do we have to make everybody happy? Why? You've made everybody happy for 70 saal. What happened?
We didn't make everybody happy. That's why we're sitting in the opposition since 2014. But let me argue that Desh Bhakti is a very good thing for all of us. I'm also a Desh Bhakt. Even people being proud of their own religion is a good thing. आप गर्व से कहो कि आप हिंदू हो, मैं भी गर्व से कहता हूं कि मैं हिंदू हूं, लेकिन किस किस्म के चीजें के ऊपर हम गर्व हो सकते हैं? It is the fact that Hinduism has no narrow-minded doctrines, has no exclusions, allows and respects everyone worshipping in their own way. Hinduism says you can imagine God in 333 million ways. There is not only one way of God. There's not only one sacred book. There are many. There is not only one leader, one guru, one God. There is multiple ways of embracing the divine. And we all, according to Hinduism, share the same Atman. And we are yearning eventually to merge with the same Brahman. Bhai, in this kind of religion, where is the room for this kind of Hindutva doctrine?
Mr. Tharoor, this is why people don't understand you. I'm telling you, it is not about English only. Your concepts are only very complicated. Now you're bringing 100 pantheons and 100 gods. You have said yourself, Congress has not had done enough to counter BJP ideology. No, if you were so clear in your concepts, then you would not have explained to people what you want. So tell me, what is Congress concept? Tell me. Come.
Congress has made a very clear distinction between Hinduism and Hindutva. The Hinduism we respect is a religion. It's inclusive. It's non-judgmental. Hindutva, on the other hand, is a political doctrine. It is based on exclusion. So let me say that even if we are personally Hindu and we go to temples, as say Rahul Gandhi has done, as I do in my constituency, we will also go to mosques and churches to show respect for our voters and their beliefs. But we will never support any form of Hindutva, nor will we support fundamentalist Islam, nor will we support fundamentalist Christianity. For us, inclusion, acceptance is key to a diverse, multi-religious India. Now, I believe that Hinduism is inclusive of all ways of worship, as I told you, but Hindutva is actually indifferent to devotion. It cares principally about identity. It is interested in you belonging to the Hindu communal identity, not about whether you care about the divine or about your Atma or about Bhagwan. Hinduism has been open to reform and progress, and that's why it's flourished for 4,000 years. Hindutva is reactionary and regressive, with its roots in the racial pride ethos that spawned fascism in the 1920s. That's when Savarkar came up with the Hindutva concept. And that is why I believe it is unlikely to outlast its current peak.
Till you have soldiers like me, it will be very much here. Now tell me, Mr. Tharoor, what is the problem in me being proud? A proud Hindutva. It is about identity. After so many centuries, we have discovered identity. What is the problem? You're jealous?
No, I just think our identity as Indians embraces multiple identities. I believe, Bhakt Sahab, that you can be a good Muslim, a good Bengali and a good Indian all at once. Whereas Hindutva says it's not possible. It says if you're a Muslim Bengali, you must be a termite and we should send you back somewhere else. That kind of talk is wrong. So my counter argument is, let us embrace an Indianness and an Indian nationhood that embraces multiple identities. That says, bhai, you can speak Punjabi or you can speak Malayalam. You can be a Jat, you can be a Dalit, you can be a Banya. It doesn't matter. We accept all these identities. They are all valid.
No.
If you say that I don't want any of these identities, I'm secular, I'm an atheist, whatever, that's also valid. You see, the great thing about Hinduism is, and the great thing, therefore, about Indian civilization is, that all these identities have existed and flourished for many, many thousands of years.
No embracing.
Until your friends have come to power, Nobody has said you cannot be this or you cannot be that. They have said be what you want to be. I think the Jewish people came for hundreds of years. They lived in Kerala. They were allowed to practice their faith until the Portuguese came in 1500 and started persecuting them. And then again, they moved further south inside Kerala and set up a synagogue where they were able to worship in peace. Similarly, the Jewish people in Maharashtra, what happened? They got treated as if they were some other Hindu sect. No one knew who they were. No one bothered them. It took a wandering rabbi to come hundreds of years later to recognize them as Jewish. That's the whole Indian way. We don't exclude, we don't persecute, we embrace. Gujarat, what happened with
again, you are Mr. Tharoor, what is this embrace business, huh? We are stopping all this embracing business, na? This love jihad that is going on. That is why we have brought this whole legislation. Too much embracing is going on. Too much democracy.
So
no. We don't want so much embracing.
So why do you think you Hindu men have the right to tell Hindu women whom they can and cannot embrace?
Because they are sisters.
What gives you that right?
We have to protect them.
Your sister. They may be your sisters, but they may not be the sisters of those they want to embrace. Why can't you leave them that freedom? Isn't it their freedom? Why should you impose your will on their freedom?
They are misled.
Acha, then you are not informing them properly if they are misled. I'm telling you that the point of the entire system of democracy we have is that our men and women are equal. They're equally free. They're equally free to make their own choices and they're equally free to make their own mistakes. I mean, frankly, men have also made mistakes in whom they have embraced. And I'm sure that women may have also made mistakes in whom they've embraced.
Yeah.
But no one has the right to tell them that they cannot choose whom they want to embrace. That is a violation of our democratic spirit.
Acha, if you are so sure, this is how it is, this is what you want to be, then why are you saying all this? Risking BJP light will end up making Congress zero. You said it, na? That means...
It's true.
So you also understand that we are very clear what we want. You are not clear. You are confused. Stop hugging there.
I'm very clear in what I want. It seems to me that some people have suggested that the Congress should take a soft line on Hindutva, particularly in northern India. And I believe that will only make us look like a BJP light. And if we emulate Pepsi light by becoming BJP light, we will end up becoming like Coke Zero, that is Congress Zero.
So we are original. You are admitting we are original. We are original.
We are original before you. You are only founded in 1980. We are founded in 1885. So we have been original a long time before you became original.
We are young original.
We are not BJP in any shape or form. You are not Congress in any shape or form. We should both be original. We should not attempt to be a lighter version of something that we are not. And I believe the Congress as a whole is not trying to. In fact, I know for a fact, Rahul Gandhi has made it very clear that he says, I will not support any form of Hindutva, neither soft nor hard. And he has also said that we certainly cannot imitate some other people. We should be ourselves. And that is my strong philosophy. I think we should not be ashamed of our secularism. When Nehruji told us that he doesn't want India to become a Hindu Pakistan, that is very much my belief. I said the same thing. And when I said that we should not become a Hindu Pakistan, some people didn't like it. They thought that I was saying something insulting to Hinduism by comparing it to Pakistan. I'm not. Hinduism is the antithesis of Pakistan. Pakistan was created by people who rejected the Hindu ideas of inclusion. Now, why should Hindus become like those who rejected them? Why should Hindus who wanted to keep India united today start talking about one religion the way in which those who created Pakistan talked about a country for one religion? That I don't want Hindu Indians to become Pakistanis light, just as I don't want Congress to become BJP light. Theek?
I will have to replay this answer to understand, but I'm just saying is that you are giving all this while you're talking about Rahul Gandhi very clear. Now let us talk about Rahul. Let us now. You started it. You brought his name into it. So I am not saying. Bhag Banerjee is not saying. Mr. Guha has said. Who are the top 3 people in the Congress party? Gandhi. Now, why are you not doing elections? Look at our party, Democratic Party, new leaders.
How many times has Mr. Shah been elected to be president? Who elected Mr. Nadda to be president? Are the elections in your party?
No, unanimous.
That's it. So there have been unanimous elections in the Congress party also. There have also been contested elections. And the current president of the party, Sonia Ji, has mentioned that there will be organizational elections very soon, within 6 months of the last working committee meeting. So we are all looking forward to that. Why should I have to move away from your question? I'm answering it directly. There will be elections.
No, I am saying is fresh blood is here. Young talent is here.
How much younger than Mr. Gandhi is any of these leaders? Mr. Amit Shah, Mr. Nadda, younger than Rahul Gandhi? What is this young blood business? I mean, frankly, youth is not a monopoly of any party, nor is energy a monopoly of any party, nor for that matter is political principle a monopoly of our party, even though we believe we have more of it than you do.
Then why is everybody joining us? Why is everybody joining us? Tell me.
If everybody is joining you, why did you only get 37% of the vote when you had a resounding re-election victory in 2019? 37% is not everybody. It's a minority.
No, I'm talking about all your leaders are also leaving and joining us. Votes you don't worry, that we will anyways get. But your leaders are also coming to us. Tell me, why?
I think we have fortunately far more leaders left with us everywhere in the country than those who have misguidedly come to you guys. I mean, there are certainly always people who will feel that they should seize the opportunities when they are offered. As I believe I only took a while to catch on that you were trying to offer me some opportunities yourself. So I can tell you that I don't play that game, and I believe that most respectable Congress people, whatever their views may be within the Congress, will never want to play that game. Those who have left don't have or don't share the same principles as those who have remained. And those are principles of inclusion, of inclusive India, of progressive India, of social justice, of democracy, of secularism, which unfortunately those people who are left have lightly tossed aside and left. I am very happy that in that case, if they don't believe these things, then they were in the wrong party to begin with.
But Mr. Tharoor, tell me one thing. Why don't you agree to the fact that what I'm saying is that you have a leadership problem? Look at us. Modi ji, Shah ji, Yogi ji, so many leaders. Problem of plenty out here. While you are struggling, why don't you admit it? Please, admit it, na?
I think we have absolutely no shortage of leaders, and they all end with G also, as you said. Yogi ji, Shah ji, Modi ji, my gosh. Listen, the simple matter is this. Ultimately, one of the things that distinguishes us from you is that we actually are willing to listen to the people. It is not about somebody saying, meh, I will solve all the problems. I know all the answers. You just listen to me. We are not only giving you our man ki baat. We are coming to the people and saying, Bhai, what do you want? What are your needs? What are your difficulties? We will work with you to resolve your problems. Aap jan ki baat sunaiye, fir man ki baat hum karenge. It's very different from your party's approach, Bhakt Sahab.
We know dil ki baat. We know what this nation wants. That is why we are winning. You don't know. And you will not admit.
दिल की बात पे आप लव जिहाद के बहाने में आप दिल की बात के खिलाफ बोल रहे हैं.
No. I am saying people were feeling a little scared. I am telling you, they were feeling khatre mein. Now we
scare them.
We told them they are khatre mein. We explained how they are in khatre.
How are they in khatre? How are you and me in khatre, Mr. Hindu Bhakt Banerjee?
Look at love jihad. Look at population rise. Look at how our identity is being threatened. Our ancient identity. You will say, no, everything is, all is well. Here you will say, sab changa si. Otherwise, when Modi ji says sab changa ji, then you have a problem.
Yeah, because the fact is that ours is a very old civilization which has evolved over time. You think that the India of the Vedic era still survived pristine. We didn't have various influences coming in. Buddhism came, Jainism came, Islam came, the British came. They've all left their influence here.
We have to go back. We have to go back. We have to remove impurity.
Please find a Vedic formula for a time machine that will enable you to go back. You cannot uninvent the evolution of several thousands of years of history, Bhakt Banerjee. India today is an evolved hybrid. It is a society and a civilization that has absorbed many influences. What did Mahatma Gandhi say 80 years ago? He said, I want my house to be a house with all the doors and windows open so the winds of the world blow through my house, provided I'm strong enough to stand firmly on my own feet.
Wind will also blow in, Rohingya will also blow in, jihadis will also blow in.
Everyone has blown in. Everyone, Huns, Greeks, Scythians, Parthians, Bactrians, Mongols, Chinese, they've all come. And the truth of the matter is that we have not only survived, we have gained from all, we have taken from all. Whether it's Chinese fishing nets in Kerala, whether it's naan and kulcha in your khana in the north, whether it's potatoes and green chilies, which we didn't have in India until the West brought it to us. All of these we have absorbed, we have made it our own.
We didn't have anything.
Our civilization has shown its greatness by being able to accommodate influences from around the world. Why should we be scared? Isme kya khatra hai, bhai sahab? We are actually strengthened by
you want to be modern. On the other hand, you also are admitting to our ancient rishis when you are saying that, okay, legalize marijuana, it was anyways legal, it is coming down. There you are going back to past. Caught you.
It happens to be true. You see, what's interesting is, just as your friend Baba Ramdev and others will tell you, that Ayurveda came up with a lot of understandings of the medicinal use of herbs.
Breaking news! Shashi Tharoor is saying, he is praising. Bhai, isme ticker chalana. You are praising Baba Ramdev, huh?
I have made a speech about Ayurveda in Parliament, and your party has applauded me. So let me assure you that there is some common ground when it comes to something like Ayurveda. But I have also said that we must back up our Ayurvedic beliefs with modern research, case study documentation, and a serious respect for clinical studies. Now, in the case of Ayurveda, until very recently, this wasn't being done. It was all very sort of impulsive, not very scientific. A Ved would touch your pulse, he would define your Vata Kapha dosha, then he would tell you, you have this, you have that. Tomorrow you go to another Ved, he may come up with a different set of medicines or abhyangas or whatever for the same condition. So it became very unscientific. What is happening now in recent days, and this is what India and the Indian government should support, is much more scientific understanding of these properties of the herbs, why a particular herb or a particular oil treatment or whatever will give you a certain result. I am very much a supporter of Ayurveda, and I myself have been a patient of Ayurveda at many occasions. So I come from Kerala where we have preserved Ayurveda. But let me say, as far as marijuana is concerned, a lot of Western studies have established the medical and curative benefits and the pain relief benefits and so on of marijuana. I have never tried it in my life, and nor should you until it becomes legal. But there are things like marijuana oils, there are things like marijuana treatments which have actually eased many kinds of suffering, some nerve diseases, some pain relief has been provided and so on. And for that, I have said we should legalize it, we should license it, and the Sarkar should tax it. Instead of breaking our backs with petrol and diesel taxes, they should start looking at some of the things that right now we have banned by our regressive British era laws, as a result of which only the mafia is making money from it, from gambling to, betting and so on, up to marijuana. And if we legalize them and we tax them, the government will benefit and people can enjoy regulated, licensed benefits of all these products.
I'm happy that you recognize, and we may not know, maybe our rishis have documented how good these oils are. We've lost in time. Your Mughals must have burnt it. I don't know. But you've written books on your Angrez. Ask them what did they do with those with that knowledge. But I'm happy that we are agreeing on something. So let us. I'm saying is, can we agree on something else also? What is this I'm reading again? Arnab Dada ke piche you are going in the court again. Just 2 days ago you saw Justice Chandrachud making that landmark judgment for him. He said personal liberty. Again you are going to court. Again the matter will go to Supreme Court. You're time wasting, Mr. Tharoor. I'm telling you.
I think the justices would agree that personal liberty applies as much to you and me as it does to that individual. I'm not at liberty to talk about the substance of a sub judice case. But all I can say is that the issue that we have gone to the court on is very simple. Because of previous false accusations made against me by that gentleman. I'm not even sure he's a gentleman, but that's another matter, in which I have dismissed them as a farrago of distortions, lies being propagated by a showman masquerading as a journalist. Those statements were made. A high court, gave an injunction telling him to watch his language while respecting his freedom of opinion, just like Justice Arthur. And despite that court order, he has conducted more programs in which, again, more false accusations have been aired. So my lawyer is simply asking the court, is this right? Can somebody ignore a court order with impunity? What will be the sanctity of our judicial system? I think we'll let the judges decide for themselves whether an order placed by a judge can be ignored. But I really cannot say more. It is a sub judice matter. And because our courts are very heavily backlogged, this case has been deferred to the 3rd of February. Let's talk again in next year.
That is what I was saying. Ancient Indian tradition. Adjust. You don't want to settle. Achha, I'm just saying, Mr. Tharoor, I was just saying, editor.
But some adjustment for you guys is always on our part. Why can't you all also adjust?
I'm just asking.
Kindly adjust.
I will. Achha, if you tell me this, I will. I'm just saying, Mr. Tharoor, what is all this ladies' business liking you all the time? They're finding you very. I am also a patriot. I am also I also speak very well Hindi. They don't like me. What is this? This is because just English. Is this English thing? What is this? Why are you so popular?
I think you'll have to ask those who tell you that I'm popular. I don't know that I'm popular, Bhaksab. All I hear every day on my timeline is how unpopular I am and how people consider me all sorts of unprintable things. That's what I see when I open social media. So if you tell me I'm popular, then you should find out with those who are telling you that why they think I am.
I am to telling you, I will make you more popular. You come this way, na? I will make you even more popular. Achha. No, Mr. Tharoor, no, I am just trying to understand what is this whole business. Why is it that people look at you like that? I want to know, huh? So, I was reading about you. So I thought, let Bhakt Banerjee expose Mr. Tharoor. I don't agree with this whole business of you being this Indian Shakespeare. You've written a book also, huh? What is this Tharurosaurus? Why are you making such big names? I can't even pronounce Tharurosaurus.
It wasn't me, it was my publishers, in this case Penguin, because they wanted a name that combined my name Tharoor with a Tyrannosaurus, a terrifying dinosaur that everyone is scared of because people are scared of big words, and Thesaurus, which is where people look them up. So it's a Tharoor Thesaurus, and there's a cartoon of me on the cover, not dressed up, looking like a Tyrannosaurus, but with a smile on my face, because actually words can be your friend. They don't have to frighten you. That's what
Let us see. Bhakt Banerjee has come prepared today. Final question. I'm not going to, not like that, Deshbhakt. I'm not going to ask you any Hindi questions. I'm going to see and I'm going to expose to the whole world. One should not be afraid. I will ask you only 3. I will ask you 3 English words. If you answer right, I will come to you. I will come your side. You don't come my side. I will come your side. Deal?
Excellent. Deal.
Ready?
Ready.
Suspense music लगा देना यहाँ editor. Suspense music. Mr. Shashi Tharoor, please define and make a sentence with only 3, not too much time. I will take 2 minutes to expose you.
Achha.
You are not Indian English master and all that stuff. Some words you have just ratta. I know. I will spell. What is the word, and with 1 line sentence you can make? INC. No, not Indian National Congress. No. INCHOATE.
Inchoate. Yes, inchoate means something that's not fully formed, not fully developed. It's kind of basic. So, for example, one can say that the attempts at authoritarianism by the BJP are fortunately still fairly inchoate, and there is still hope for our democracy to be revived.
I don't know how. Okay. And why are you making these political statements? I just ask you to make one line. You're making politics in this also.
That's one line.
And don't there's only one leader, so don't make smart comments about so, second word. Let me this you don't know. CACHET.
Cachet. That comes from French. Cachet is about prestige, about standing. You know, about
you have no cachet.
I can say that
you have no cachet in the Congress.
In the world of right-wing television anchors, very few enjoy the cachet that Bhakt Banerjee does.
Make another. I can't understand this line. What do you mean?
It says you have great prestige in standing, Bhakt Sahab.
Okay. Shit. Okay. Acha. Okay. Final one.
Okay.
DILATORY.
Dilatory or dilatory, the Americans tend to say. Dilatory. It basically means a bit slow to take action. So one of the criticisms against our courts is that they're somewhat dilatory and that justice delayed is often justice denied.
I will tell Mr. Venugopal. You are criticizing court. I will tell Mr. Venugopal. He will do contempt of court action.
I am describing other people's criticisms of the judiciary by using the word dilatory because unfortunately...
Let me make one. Congress is dilatory in its actions. Better one.
Sorry, say that again.
Congress is dilatory in its actions as an opposition party.
Okay, then we'll be much swifter and more robust when it comes to taking action against you, Bhakt Banerjee, when the time comes.
Okay, I don't know how you know these things. But anyways, Mr. Tharoor, many, many thanks. And the line is open. When you want to call me, huh? We'll get you here.
I'm like this only, if I can use your Indian Englishisms, so I won't adjust. But thank you, no setting for me. But much appreciated and good luck. Thank you for reading my books. And I hope we'll have a chance to resume this engagement with the next big issue that comes our way.
Okay. You are not agreeing to me, but thank you for talking and thank you for being honest with Bhakt Banerjee. I will find more difficult words next time for you. Thank you.
Okay. I look forward to that.
Dhanyavad.
All the best. Jai Hind.
Namaskar, mitron.